Welcome to the Commonwealth Policy Center's Candidate Forum. I'm Richard Nelson, CPC's Executive Director and your host. Kentucky's primary elections are on May the 21st, and 189 Kentuckians have filed to run for 100 House seats, giving voters several choices to represent them, including a primary for House District 49, which is currently represented by State Representative Thomas Huff, who's joining us for this candidate forum. Representative Huff, welcome to the program.
Glad to be here.
Hey, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. As we record, you're in session right now. You've got long days and many, many issues in front of you. But this is a chance for you to reintroduce yourself to the voters. I know that there are a lot of people who've, obviously, they've voted for you the last two elections. You've been in since 2020. But you get to reacquaint yourself with the voters. But let's start with, why did you first run in 2019?
I was I work at a car lot, and I was walking out to the mailbox, and I sincerely asked the Lord, I said, is this all you want me to do? Is just sell cars and be a dad and a grandpa, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And it just like a bell rang, he said, run for state rep. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what started it. Prior to that, I really didn't I wasn't real crazy about the candidate that I was running against anyway, so that didn't hurt.
So you just stepping into that a bit, you're in Bullitt County.
Yes, Bullitt County.
You're in Shepherdsville,
mm-hmm.
and Bullitt is now a Republican majority county.
Yes.
But prior to just the last couple of years, you had a far left Democrat representing the district. So
Absolutely.
Is that what motivated you? Maybe the policies? I know that she
Absolutely.
wasn't. So what were some of the positions that she had that you were opposed to that you thought you could have done better?
Well, I'm extremely pro-life. And as a matter of fact, one of my prayer was that when I got in, my name would be on the actual legislation that ended abortion in Kentucky. And my name, I was a co-sponsor on the trigger bill. The governor didn't even bother to veto it because he thought it was ridiculous, because in order for it to be effective, Roe versus Wade had to be overturned first. Right. And what do you know? I consider that a personal answer to prayer, that Roe versus Wade was overturned, and my name was on. I was a co-sponsor on that exact bill. And I don't care if 10,000 other people prayed that. I prayed it. And my name was on it, so I'm really proud of that. But that led me to, yes. But now we closed. I think both abortion clinics are closed in Kentucky. I don't know that it's that high of a priority now. Now we just need to maintain, I think. Kind of keep it, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not saying there's not other pro-life bills. There is. I'm trying to think. Is it 142? I can't remember.
The Momnibus bill?
Yes.
Wraparound services for moms?
There's other bills, but the main work is done. Abortion is illegal in Kentucky, and I was a part of it.
Now, those in the pro-life movement are arguing that pro-lifers need to move to that next stage, which the Momnibus bill would address that. There's a bill that would require child support for fathers. Once a woman is found to be pregnant and it's confirmed that there's a father who's not married to the mother, it would require child support payments from early on in pregnancy. That's considered the next step of the pro-life movement. You have another bill that would help women who have been sexually assaulted and they conceive, and it would provide state support. It would provide health insurance, financial support for both the mother and child all the way to age 18. It's estimated somewhere between 300 to 400 women who are sexually assaulted in Kentucky do conceive due to the sexual assault. So those are other steps in the pro-life movement. Are these some efforts that you see yourself involved with? Of course, these are bills that are moving through the legislature right now. Are several different bills, and they're in different stages right now.
I was going to say, I haven't really kept up a whole lot with them. I'm more focused on ones that are moving, coming up today, right this minute. You've probably actually kept closer track of them than I have. I've co-sponsored a couple of them, but I'd honestly have to go back and look and see what the numbers were.
There's a few bills in the legislature, aren't there?
Over 1,300 bills have been filed. We usually pass about 200. So there's 1,100, give or take, there's 1,100 bills out there that are just, may never see, completion.
Right. One of the bills was sponsored by your colleague Amy Neighbors of South Central Kentucky. I think she's in Metcalfe County. And her bill would have required, again, child support for fathers not married to the mother, but it would have required them to pay for child support while the woman is still carrying the child. And interesting side note to that is that she was strongly criticized from the pro-abortion left because it acknowledged personhood of the unborn child in the womb. She didn't expect that. She didn't see it coming. But it goes to show that the knee-jerk reaction to those who would maybe normally be concerned about the mother and want help for the mother who's vulnerable and can't provide for herself or her child, all of a sudden they're against it because of the unintended secondary effect, if you will, of acknowledging that unborn child.
They'd have to acknowledge that it's a life.
That it's a life and that it is deserving of support. That bill is, as far as I understand, it's not moving at the moment. But again, one of those many things that can be done regarding elevating a sanctity of life ethic in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Representative Huff, you are also a member of the Kentucky Sportsmen's Caucus, and hunters and fishermen have, across the state, have been in the news lately because there's a move to take the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife from the governor's jurisdiction and moving it to the Department of Agriculture.
Okay.
Now that's getting a lot of attention. There's back and forth on that. Is this something that you have been involved with? I believe the House passed it unanimously. No, it wasn't. Tell us about what that, because again, it's moving from Governor Beshear's appointment purview. It moves it from his executive cabinet to Jonathan Schell, a Republican, to the Department of Agriculture. Where do you stand on this issue, and where?
It's totally changed now.
Okay.
Instead of putting, and I was against that.
Okay.
But now they're proposing a whole new, and I wasn't prepared for the question, so I have to think about the answer just for a minute. Sure. It's a whole new, like the lottery is in their own department. Now they're proposing a whole new department for that.
And so, allow me to interrupt. So you mean they're taking away from the governor's purview and creating a whole new, like the Kentucky Lottery Corporation is a separate entity?
Not really. The governor will still appoint the member. They're going to keep the same members, and this is still in the works, so I don't know what's going to. The governor will still appoint, but they'll have to have Senate approval with this bill. They have to be qualified in some sense to be on they have to pass vetting, background checks, all of which they do not need to do now. They'll pick veterinarians. It's not just veterinarian. All different people that have involvement in that.
Sure. People from different walks of life.
Well, yes, but like a horse trainer, a veterinarian, people that have skin in the game, I guess. I'm not sure how that's going yet exactly. We heard it in a joint committee today, which is a little unusual. And when the talk was over, the House members left and the Senate voted, and they're going to send it, and we'll see what happens. I haven't even had time to get feedback, and it's a 280-something page bill.
Oh boy!
So, but I think only like 30 pages of changes. But it doesn't take away from the governor. It just creates a whole new, instead of putting in the ag department, it creates a whole new commission, whatever the right word is, I'm not sure.
Very good. Now, Bullock County is not as rural as the rest of Kentucky. You're really a bedroom community to Louisville, if you will, or people that are off. Many people work in Louisville.
Absolutely.
So maybe that's not a top issue for them. But tell us, if you would, some of the issues of concern that voters have in your district, in Bullock County.
The infrastructure is a very, very big concern. I got in my first term, we got $40 million for Bullitt County roads. In my second term, we got $80 million for Bullitt County roads. And it's because we're all working together. It's not me doing this and, used to they would, one rep would want to do this project, another rep would want to do this project, the senator would be over here wanting to do this project. Mm-hmm. Now we're trying to get everybody on the same page and work together, and it's producing more results. But infrastructure is definitely a big concern. We have narrow roads. We have all these new warehouses with all these semi-tractors running down the road on roads that weren't made for that.
So you're expanding, widening the roads in some areas?
Priorities are widening roads, definitely.
Okay. What kind of growth, Representative Huff, have you had in Bullitt County in the last, according to the last census? Has it been? You're one of the leading growing counties, if I remember correctly.
And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we're putting up new subdivisions all over, warehouses all over, and the infrastructure is just not there to handle it.
So you are a growing community, and of course, when growth happens, then you have greater infrastructure needs. So you have been in the legislature for 2 terms, correct?
3 terms.
3 terms.
I was elected in 19.
Okay. So 3 terms, you're going for your 4th term? So
the other office, I'd just be in the middle of my 2nd term, but they're 2-year terms.
Okay. So you're going for another term. What are some of the significant things? And I guess you've talked about some, the pro-life legislation, now that abortion is outlawed in the Commonwealth, infrastructure needs. You've brought money back to the district to help build roads and expand and widen roads. What are some other significant achievements that you have accomplished in your 3 terms there?
Let's see, there's constitutional carry. You no longer need to go to the sheriff's office and pay $75 to exercise your constitutional right to carry a concealed weapon.
Okay. Were you one of the sponsors of that?
Oh, yeah. Yes, absolutely. And there's always someone wanting to attack that right. We have this session, we have the CAR bill, CARR. It's a red flag bill. They can paint it up in any way they want to, but it's the ability for the government to be able to take away your guns when you haven't done anything wrong, because you might be in a wrong state of mind. Maybe somebody says you are, so they can come in and take all your guns. That's half the time, and what you're doing is blocking bad legislation. And that's terrible legislation. I don't care who writes me a letter in support of it. There's no way I would vote for that.
Often.
And I've got the letters. I'm sorry.
Sure. No. Gun legislation gets traction after there's been a mass shooting, and I think the CAR bill may have been prompted from that mass shooting in Louisville at the bank. There was a young man who had suffering with mental illness of some kind, and now the red flag laws are meant to flag people like that and to take guns away from them. I understand the concerns with that, that it could be, those red flag laws could be abused and misused to take guns away from law-abiding citizens, but mass violence is an issue of concern, whether it's in schools or at a bank or wherever it might be. What is the solution to that? Somebody that takes a gun into a crowded area and they just start opening up. What should the response be? I understand you're concerned respecting gun owners' rights.
See, here's the thing. I can hop in my Durango and drive into a crowd of people and kill as many as I want. I mean, you don't have to have a gun to do that. And they've done that with vans, with fertilizer, with box cutters. One of our most terrible events we ever had was with box cutters on a plane. I mean, if you want to just confine it to guns, then I think you're looking at the wrong thing. But any vehicle is a weapon. Your little Volkswagen, a small car can be a weapon. All you need is a crowd of people and drive into them. I mean, there's just, I don't know, you're singling out guns. I think that's wrong.
How strong is the gun lobby or constituents in your district that are pro-Second Amendment? Is it a pretty significant group?
Oh, yeah.
Are they pretty vocal?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And I am too. I mean, you can make a weapon out of almost anything.
Kentucky is at a crossroads. We can choose to give in to the radical left, or we can choose to engage the culture in a God-honoring way.
I started the Commonwealth Policy Center because I believe that Christians have a responsibility to influence government and society to the glory of God. While the Commonwealth Policy Center's made a significant impact, our work isn't finished. If you'd like to join our movement working for timeless values, then head to our website.
To learn more, go to CommonwealthPolicyCenter.org.
If you're just joining us, you are watching CPC's Candidate Forum. I'm Richard Nelson, Executive Director of the Commonwealth Policy Center and your host, here with State Representative Thomas Huff of the 49th State House District. Thomas, thank you for joining us on this program. You do have a challenger. You have a primary challenger coming up May the 21st is the election day. William Harned, who was previously a Democrat, just switched parties within the last year, if I understand correctly.
He switched parties 2 weeks before he filed to run against me.
So what are some points of distinction between you and him? By the way, he has been invited. We've not heard back from him. He is welcome to come if he's watching this. William Harned, you're welcome to join us on the Candidate Forum. But what are some points of distinction that you have with William Harned?
Well, I don't know that much about the man. He's friendly enough to talk to. He has been to me. I'm a proven conservative. I have a record to run on. Pro-life, pro-gun, conservative, low tax. We've been lowering the income tax half point of percentage per year until it's gone. We're going to eliminate state income tax. I think my record is the main thing that would distinguish us. He has no record. The only thing anybody knows about him is that he switched parties 2 weeks before he decided to run against me. He had a ad in the paper we both did, or I'm sorry, an interview in our local paper, and he didn't have any policy in there. It was mostly just, I'm going to ask questions, and well, I mean, we all do that. But I listed accomplishments, anything that I've done or a lot of things that I've done. You can look back at my voting record and see for yourself what I stand for.
The Kentucky legislature is decidedly conservative. Republicans have supermajorities in both the House and the Senate. In fact, there are 79 Republicans in the House?
80.
It's 80 now.
80
there was one. Okay. It's 80 seats in the House. In the Senate side, there are, I want to say 31 out of the 38 seats are Republican.
Yes, sir.
And you've done a number of things in the legislature the past few years. You'd mentioned tax policy. Let's talk about that for a minute. There's the goal for Republicans in the state is to phase out the state income tax. At one time, it was 6%, and now it's down to 4%.
Yep.
Is there a provision in this current budget bill to move it down to 3.5%?
Absolutely. We're going to make sure that come January it's 3.5%. Well, as best as anybody can. There's obviously triggers that have to be met, but we're going to be extremely careful to try to make sure and meet those triggers.
If the triggers, and these are safeguards, in order to make sure that we don't have revenue shortfalls in order to fund the necessary function of government.
Exactly.
If these triggers continue to be met, when could Kentuckians expect the state income tax to be phased out? Is there a time frame that we're looking at?
Certainly, yeah. At a half a point a year, 8 years.
Okay. And that's the track that we're on.
Yes.
It's already been removed 2 full points, and we're on track to almost having it in the very near future.
Yes.
Next year, or later this year, actually, if this is enacted in the budget bill, if this passes.
Would be 3.5. Correct.
Okay. Very good.
The following year 3 and so forth.
A big issue 2 sessions ago, Representative Huff, was the Fairness in Women's Sports Act. This was a bill that kept biological boys off of girls' sports teams. Did you vote for that?
I co-sponsored it and voted for it. I think it was, I'm trying to remember the cut, first, second, third, fourth grade, something like that. It was fine, but right around fifth grade, is that right? I think it was 5th grade. We said, that's the point where you cannot mix.
Did you get criticism from people in your district that people were saying that you're bullying or beating up on the transgender boys? Or
Not that I can recall. Everybody I recalled was 100% behind it. I'm sure there were some, but I don't remember it.
A similar bill, related bill last session was Senate Bill 150. It stopped the teaching of gender ideology in K through 12 public schools. It also stopped the transition of minors who were gender dysphoric. It stopped puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and gender mutilation surgery. That bill passed as well. Is that something that you supported?
Co-sponsored and voted for, yes, absolutely.
Did you hear? Go ahead.
And it's funny because the opposing party got up and said that they're capable of making that decision to mutilate their own bodies. But then this year we had a bill that said, 14, 15-year-olds could work an extra hour a day. And the same people said they're not capable of making that kind of a decision. But last year they could mutilate body parts at that age or younger. This year they can't decide if they can work one extra hour a day. So
so we were talking about COVID before the program began, and under the Beshear administration, things were shut down. Businesses were shut down, including your own, where you suffered. You weren't able to sell cars. People weren't able to come out. And then there was eventually, we saw the unemployment period extended, where people could get unemployment insurance. People relied on the government more. One of the things that I hear, Thomas, is the negative effect of that was that it encouraged people to stay home and not work, and that people haven't rejoined the workforce. Is that something you experienced and that you saw in Bullitt County?
Well, for about 2 weeks, we wouldn't sell cars. And I said, just forget it. We're going to start selling cars again. And we did. I didn't get the publicity that Beans or some of them got. They never closed at all.
Yeah.
But for about 2 weeks, we just didn't sell anything. We just collected payments, and that was it. And I said, I haven't worked here for, at that time, 42 years to be put out of business. So we started selling. So, but I know people to this day that still work at home. They're allowed to work from home. They don't even need to go into work. And there's a lot of people that haven't returned to the workforce. And of course, recently they tried to make them pay all that unemployment back. And we just passed a bill that says if you drew it in this amount of, that you don't have to pay it back. Because, the governor was encouraging people, if you're self-employed, if you're otherwise not qualified to receive this, go ahead and file and we're going to let you have it. And then, like I say, now they're saying, well, you have to pay it back, and that's just wrong.
Yeah.
So we passed a bill to say you don't.
Yeah. Of course, the governor overstepped his bounds when he closed churches and private Christian schools as well. That was an issue in your district.
Yes.
You had Maryville Baptist Church. Tell us about that.
They refused to close. He sent the state police out and took their license plate numbers down. And of course, the Attorney General, Daniel Cameron, at the time immediately sued, and within like 2 weeks, I think it was, they were, it might not have been 2 weeks, but it was pretty quick that they were allowed to reopen. He also prohibited interstate travel, both things which were unconstitutional. And both Cameron sued him and won.
Very good. Did you hear from constituents in your district about the religious freedom, this governor shutting down the church? Is that an issue where people were contacting, or?
Not really, not a whole lot. Of course, Maryville, and, I didn't really hear a whole lot about that other than what anybody heard on the news, really.
Became a statewide issue. I think it received national attention as well. Let's move on to some other issues. Medical marijuana was legalized by the legislature, I believe, the prior session. There's a protocol and a way of somebody getting verified to use medical marijuana. What are I don't recall how you voted. What was your position on medical?
I've co-sponsored and voted for it. Yes, medical. My sister was a nurse in Ohio. She had cancer patients that would not eat. It's legal there. So they'd give them a cancer patient, a lot of times they were terminal, she'd give them one of those, and in a little while they'd want to eat.
So this is a pill form of
Yes,
marijuana.
yeah, pill, not, yeah, absolutely. And we had people come in a committee room with children that had epilepsy and seizures and things like that. And they were on this severe medicine, and they found out that if they did the pill, that it would stop that. So these people were driving to another state to get it illegally and give it to their child. And it was a lot. It wasn't the severe medicine. I don't know the words exactly, but it was strong medicine they were putting them on, and this would do the same thing. So
Schedule 4, I think, or type of schedule.
It could have been narcotic. I don't want to say without. Is that what Schedule 4 is? Narcotic?
I think so.
I don't know.
Not
So
100%.
So I supported it. Yeah, absolutely.
How do you, Representative Huff, how do you distinguish that from recreational marijuana? Where are you on recreational marijuana?
Well, I'm against, of course. I mean, I'm against anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's some who are saying, well, we should just decriminalize marijuana, maybe tax it and bring in revenue. What do you say to that argument? I can understand what they're saying. I mean, you can see positive on both sides, really. We have bourbon. I think probably bourbon's more destructive than marijuana, but you're opposed to it as far as your position.
Yeah,
recreational.
Yeah. I think the medicinal, it would never pass anyway.
Okay. Another issue that has come up in your time in the legislature is gambling expansion. HHR has been expanded to allow at the racetracks, and then sports gambling. Last year there was a bill that allowed betting, actually created a framework for Kentucky to allow gambling on sports. What was your position on that?
I voted for it.
Okay.
We're one of the strictest regulated states in the country, and I mean we have horse racing, and actually a lot of that, the HHR machines are on those facilities. They have a couple of them that aren't, or maybe more. I don't know, but we lose a lot of tax revenue to Indiana and neighboring states. You can drive. At any point in the state, you can drive 2 hours and have legalized gambling anywhere around. I think we're losing a lot of revenue. I know it may not be the most popular opinion for churches, Christians, but I mean, again, we're losing millions of dollars. It's highly regulated. Freedom issue also.
We're just about out of time, Representative Huff, and we do thank you for coming in. If you're reelected to another term, again, the primary's coming up on May the 21st. If you're reelected to another term, what would be some of your priority issues, or what would you like to accomplish in another 2 years in the State House?
I'll tell you the truth. I'm more concerned about infrastructure than I am passing a lot of bills, honestly. But my position is the same pro-life, pro-gun, America first position that I've always had. Kentucky first, America first. Continue to lower the taxes. Just keep fighting for the people.
All right. Very good. Thomas Huff, thank you for joining Commonwealth Policy Center in this candidate forum. And thank you for tuning in. Remember, primary election day is May the 21st. Make sure you get out and vote. And more information can be found at our website, commonwealthpolicycenter.org.